Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Surah Al-An'am, ayah number 66. قال الله تعالى: وكذب به قومك وهو الحق قل لست عليكم بوكيل. He says, your people, the Quraysh, have belied bihi, it, meaning the Quran, وهو الحق, whilst it is the truth. قل, say, O Muhammad ﷺ, I am not a wakil, meaning I do not act on your behalf, I am not responsible for you, such that it is my duty to ensure that you believe. Reflecting on ayah number 66, the basic lesson is that the Prophet is not responsible for the guidance of the people. Okay, so how does that apply to us? It applies to us when we are giving da'wah. We must never feel that we are somehow responsible for guiding the kuffar. So that if the kuffar argue against us or disagree with our message, that we are somehow responsible or we haven't done the job correctly or anything along those lines. No, our job is simply to convey the message as clearly as we can. And that is it. After that, if they belie the Quran or any of the ayat of Allah Jalla wa Ala, then that is between them and Allah. We have nothing to say about that matter. Ayah 67. لِكُلِّ نَبَإٍ مُسْتَقَرٌّ وَسَوْفَ تَعْلَمُونَ. For every news, that is to say, for every matter which Allah informs you of, there is a mustaqar. Mustaqar normally means a place where you or something stay and are resident and do not move. In this context, it means for every news there is a reality, meaning it will come to pass. For example, if Allah talks about Yawm al-Qiyamah, He gives us some news and information about that, meaning it will actually physically come to pass. So therefore He finishes off by saying, وَسَوْفَ تَعْلَمُونَ, you will come to know. So reflecting on ayah number 67, we take, just as He mentioned in the previous ayah also, that the Quran is the truth, and that what Allah Jalla wa Ala says is the truth, and when He speaks about a future matter, it will come to pass. This is the mustaqar. As Allah Jalla wa Ala speaks the truth, He does not speak about the latest facts, because the latest facts can change with changing evidence, whereas what Allah speaks is the truth that can never change. It is inexorable. Ayah number 68. وَإِذَا رَأَيْتَ الَّذِينَ يَخُوضُونَ فِي آيَاتِنَا فَأَعْرِضْ عَنْهُمْ حَتَّى يَخُوضُوا فِي حَدِيثٍ غَيْرِهِ وَإِمَّا يُنْسِيَنَّكَ الشَّيْطَانُ فَلَا تَقْعُدْ بَعْدَ الذِّكْرَى مَعَ الْقَوْمِ الظَّالِمِينَ. He says, when you see those who are making khawd in our ayat. Khawd normally means to delve into a topic. Here it refers to people belying our ayat of the Quran or even mocking it. So not talking about our ayat in a dignified manner. He says, فَأَعْرِضْ عَنْهُمْ, turn away from them until they delve into a topic other than it, meaning they talk about a topic other than refuting the Quran. Then he says وَإِمَّا, which is وَإِن and then ma. It's joined on to وَإِمَّا. If the shaitan makes you forget, meaning to say, you forget that you should be turning away from such people if they mock the ayat of the Quran or belie it. Then Allah says that do not sit with them after you remember, meaning after you remember that you should be turning away from such people. So after you remember, do not sit with the wrongdoers, that is, those who are belying our ayat and mocking them. Reflecting on ayah 68, the main lesson here is do not sit with evil company. So if they are making a mockery of the ayat of Allah Jalla wa Ala or any of the emblems of Islam, or speaking inappropriately about the deen of Islam, then either you correct them. If you're unable to correct them, then leave their company. Because in keeping with their company, you're tacitly approving of what they are saying or doing. This could be of evil speech, but also of evil actions as well, such as people who are gambling, for example. If you do not leave their company, you are tacitly approving of their gambling, and that in and of itself is haram. And we also notice how Allah calls them ظالمين, because all types of sin is dhulm. It is oppressing your own self. We also take from this ayah that the shaitan can make you forget. And this is one of the powers he has over us, is that he can make us forget certain things. As for example in Surah Yusuf, فَأَنْسَاهُ الشَّيْطَانُ ذِكْرَ رَبِّهِ فَلَبِثَ فِي السِّجْنِ بِضْعَ سِنِينَ. So the shaitan made the man forget to mention Yusuf alayhi salam to the king. And so Yusuf alayhi salam had to spend some more years in prison, up until the situation of interpreting the dream of the king. So the point is, if you forget, fine. But there will come a point when you remember. And so when you do remember, then you have no excuse. So if you forgot to leave their company, and then when you remember that you should not be in the company of evil people, then you must leave their company. And you must not be afraid that they might take offense, or that they might break friendship, or any of that stuff. Allah's rights come before anything else. And even if they do break friendship, then that might actually end up being better for you. Ayah 69. وَمَا عَلَى الَّذِينَ يَتَّقُونَ مِنْ حِسَابِهِمْ مِنْ شَيْءٍ وَلَكِنْ ذِكْرَى لَعَلَّهُمْ يَتَّقُونَ. In this ayah he says that those people who have taqwa are not going to be taken into account for the evils of the evildoers. Meaning, in the ayah before, those who were mocking our ayat. But upon the people of taqwa is a dhikra, to remind those who do wrong. لَعَلَّهُمْ, so hopefully they, يَتَّقُونَ, gain taqwa. This recommendation to remind others came down when the Muslimun thought to themselves that if we have to leave every time the mushrikun mock the ayat of the Quran, we would not be able to sit in the Masjid al-Haram, because there will always be someone from the mushrikeen mocking the ayat of the Quran. So Allah Jalla wa Ala recommends to the Muslimin, those who have taqwa, to remind the wrongdoers so that perhaps they may attain taqwa. Reflecting on ayah 69, we learn that those people who have taqwa will not be taken into account for the sins of the evildoers, as no bearer of burden shall bear the burden of another. Of course, that is well known from the Quran. However, the Quran tells us that our responsibility is a dhikra, reminder, so that they may have taqwa, meaning the evildoers may attain taqwa. So this is our job, a reminder, delivering the message in the clearest possible way, just like all the prophets used to do. It is also worth pointing out that if in delivering the message you're just going to increase the recipient, not in taqwa, but in arrogance and pride, then you ought to stop giving the message and reminder to such a person, because then you're not increasing them in taqwa, you're increasing them in pride and arrogance. Because there are many people out there whom, when you give them advice and invitation to Tawheed, they actually become more arrogant. They start saying or thinking, who are you to give me advice or to give me a lecture? You're just a little man. Get lost. So if you're dealing with that type of a person, then what is incumbent upon you is to leave such a person alone. There is no goodness in interacting with such people. هذا والله أعلم.